Good evening. I'd like to call to order the October 6, 2014 Lake Washington School District Board of Directors meeting. All board members are present and just come from a study session and now ready for our regular meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor of approving the agenda as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have an agenda for the evening, and the first item is our host school.
We are very pleased that Rose Hill Elementary is here tonight as our host school, so I would like to welcome Principal Jennifer Hodges up to the podium. And Jennifer, just so you know, we have the presentation here on our screens, so we're watching from here. So welcome. I'm going to push the button.
There we go. I've been in here many times, but I've never had the privilege to speak in the boardroom. Thank you so much, board members, for inviting me this evening to speak about all of the wonderful things happening at Rose Hill Elementary School. To begin, I want to share with you our mission and vision at Rose Hill, which is that we are a school community that empowers students to continually improve as independent learners and critical thinkers. And throughout my presentation, you're going to hear a lot about improvement and growth. The vision that we strive for is that Rose Hill Elementary community has a shared vision whereby we strive for supporting and trusting relationships with students, families, and staff. We celebrate success. We use data to determine instructional steps, share high expectations for student learning, and work cooperatively to differentiate learning experiences, and all of this in order to maximize and accelerate student achievement. Just to give you a little history on the building, Rose Hill first opened in 1954, so we're kind of celebrating our 60th year, after a school board member sold the land in 1949, and the brand new remodeled Rose Hill Elementary School opened in 2006. And it's an absolutely beautiful building. Who we are as a learning community: currently we have 365 students. Over 24 languages are represented in our building. Our largest minority group are Latino students, 25%. And as you know, we're one of 5 Title I elementary schools in the Lake Washington School District, with our free and reduced lunch rate hovering right around 37%. We're 25% ELL students, and we're 17% special education. We have the benefit of housing one of 2 primary intervention programs at Rose Hill. Our staff demographic is 30 certificated and 15 classified. One of, I'd say a defining piece about our mission and vision at Rose Hill is to really create a parent and school partnership, and we definitely have that represented in our building. I purposely chose this picture because I know many of my staff are not here this evening because they're watching the Seahawks game, but this was on a Blue Friday last year. At this time, I would actually like to acknowledge the Rose Hill staff that are here this evening and our PTSA. So would you please stand? They're small but mighty on... And special thanks to our PTSA President, Corey Monson, for decorating the boardroom with wonderful samples of our student work. Just a few events that happen at Rose Hill. Many are typical of elementary schools across the system. What you see in red and italicized are 4 new events that will take place at Rose Hill. We're excited. We're just beginning to get a Watchdogs program up and running. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what that is, that's bringing dads into the school for 1 day of service throughout the year. And our target amount this year is going to be for 80 dads to sign up for 1 day of service. I'm going to talk to you about the ROSE program a little bit later. But all of these events are made possible because we have a wonderful PTSA that is committed to ensuring that all students have access to programs in our building. And just to further illustrate that school-parent partnership, this is an example of what I call a parent needs assessment. We gave this out at curriculum night this year, and we said to parents, what do you want from us? Oftentimes, schools will build programs based on what we think parents want in terms of evening events or parenting classes. And so currently we're culling all of this information to determine what we're going to focus on this year, hopefully having one night each month that has an opportunity for parents to come to the building and be involved. Additional community programs that are present at Rose Hill. We're in the second year of implementation of a positive parenting program for Spanish-speaking families. It's 7 consecutive sessions, all taught in Spanish. And what was amazing last year is that our Latino community continued to meet after the formal event ended, because they just found great comfort in coming together weekly to talk about issues related to school. And we created a direct pipeline to me, where I have a staff member that's fluent in Spanish, and so she communicates regularly with me any issues that need follow-up and attention that otherwise would go missed because of a language barrier. This year we also have a partnership with Mark Twain's elementary school, PTSA. We call it the 128th Corridor. Since both of our schools are located on that street, we thought it would be great. Our parent community know one another from outside activities. And so this year we're starting a monthly opportunity for parents from both communities to meet at one school site or the other, and classes that are already set are homework support and Savvy Tech Safety are both on the calendar. And then a wonderful thing that's happened for years at Rose Hill is at least 4 times all students that are served in our Safety Net program are invited to the Redmond Library for a night of pizza and literacy. A story is read aloud to them, and all children leave with a book, a free book. Additional programs for students, we do have on site a YES counselor. We serve 15 students weekly through our Lunch Buddies program. Unique to Rose Hill, we house the Reading with Rover program that started in 2006. So once a week, 4 trained reading dogs come in and read with our second grade students in the second grade pod area. And it's amazing to watch our reluctant students that lack confidence find that confidence when working with our 4-legged friends. Additionally, we have a Big Buddies program where all 5th grade students are matched with a kindergartner and go into the classroom to do reading, different art activities, etc. And we deliver pantry packs, which are food supply, to students in need on Fridays, and about 75 students participate in Operation School Bell. Academic interventions that we have currently are Before School Scholars Club. We have nearly 20 students that get on a bus at between 7 and 7:10. We're an early start school, so we weren't sure if an early morning program would work. And all but 1 student came on the first day, and this fall is our first shot at that intervention. We also serve ELL students before school, and as in all of the title schools, we have the KISSN program, which extends all-day kindergarten to students needing additional literacy support, and this is our 3rd year doing that. We also have Jumpstart ELL program in the summer for 2 weeks, and finally, Rose Hill has, for 3 years, hosted a Title I summer school, keeping 60 kids in school for 5 weeks to prevent summer slide. Something unique to our school is we have an enrichment block that is built into our schedule. And so I've given you just a sample of what the 1st grade morning schedule looks like. And you'll see that little block of red that's called enrichment, and that extends 1st through 5th grade. And during that time, students who need additional support in literacy, math, language are pulled out by a certificated teacher for small group instruction. Students who need to extend their learning opportunities remain in the classroom with the classroom teacher, and sometimes grade level teachers will partner around that extended learning. But I call it kind of the just right 40 minutes where everyone is working at their instructional level and having their needs met. In terms of professional development that we're focusing on at Rose Hill, it's really around building teacher capacity for collaboration, and we're doing that through the data teaming process. We're in year 2 of implementation. On the left of the screen, you see a kindergarten team working together to develop a common formative assessment that will be given to all kindergarten students. We also are joining with a couple other Title I schools this fall to partner with CORE, which is the Consortium on Reading Excellence, and look forward to, I think for the first time, 3 times this year, all of the Title I schools will be in the same room for professional development. And it's something that in my short time, this is my 3rd year at Rose Hill, I've heard from my staff, we would really like the opportunity to work with teachers in similar schools. And so thanks to Kelly Pease and David Larson, that's happening for the first time. This is the 5-step process that we follow for data teaming, and I know that you've heard about this probably from some folks that have presented before me, but basically the data team process lays a structure on top of collaboration that it is a PLC. It's just highly organized. This shows you begin with a pre-assessment, you analyze and you say, what are students doing that are proficient, and then saying, well, what are students that aren't proficient doing, and then developing instructional strategies for all groups of students. And this just shows you an example of how teachers are grouping students. And at the top, you'll see an entire meeting is spent looking at a priority standard and determining what it is that students need to know and be able to do in order to reach that. We like to share data at Rose Hill, and you're going to see a few examples here. On the left is what would happen approximately monthly as grade level teams report out what priority standard they're focused on, what strategies they've agreed to, how students did on the pre-test and the post-test, and how many days of instruction. On the top right is a little data wall that I started my first year at Rose Hill around attendance. And we know that if students aren't in school, they can't be learning. And so we tracked by classroom teacher, and at the top is a little raccoon head. And we were trying to have no less than 95% average daily attendance over a 2-week period. We also had an IXL data wall where we display students that are mastering IXL skills, and thanks to the Lake Washington Schools Foundation, all students in our building have a license to practice math on IXL. This just shows you some of the data that has come out of our early intervention program, referred to as KISSN. You can see that we had 12 students at the beginning of last school year in our program. 75% of them were well below benchmark. And how often, not often do you see a full green circle, which is very exciting. And I know that this is happening across all of the title schools, because we know that early intervention is what kids need, and that our investment in them early on will pay out large dividends over time. This just is on the screen to illustrate how at Rose Hill we really focus on growth. So we want to look at those arrows across 3 years and see how students performed in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and make sure that when they're leaving us, they're leaving stronger than when they entered. So for example, if you look at those 3rd grade math scores in 2012, just shy of 60% as they head out our door, we're closing in at 75% proficiency on the MSP. And I show this not so much that you read all of the words on it, but this is, of course, the Washington State Index of Performance. And the top box is 2011, bottom's 2012. You see a little orange, a little light blue, little kind of moss green at the top. And then you take a look at our growth in 2013, and so we're seeing more dark blue, consistent green, and most importantly, our targeted subgroups are all green and no orange. So it's about focusing on growth and ensuring that all of our students are growing while they're under our instructional care. And we know equally important to academics is building the social emotional character of our children, and that without SEL, or social emotional learning, students aren't ready to learn. And so we had the great fortune 2 years ago of entering into a pilot research study on social skills program called Second Step. And we've implemented it K-5. focuses on teaching students self-regulation skills, empathy, listening, respect, and problem solving. And weekly, I hand out, well, not just me, the entire staff, we have raccoon recognition tickets in all different colors to match the skills that we're emphasizing through the lessons. And when we catch students making good choices, we hand them a ticket. And we know that we need to catch certain kids more frequently than other kids. And every Friday we have a drawing, and our raccoon recognition winners come down for a prize. This is one of the final pieces of my presentation. I want to share with you a story that really shows you what kind of school community we are. At the end of my Latino parenting class last year, I had an alumni student who had been coming to help take care of the younger siblings for me while she earned her community service hours required at Lake Washington High School. She was sad on the last night of the class, and she said, "I just love coming here so much." She said, "I have very fond memories of elementary school," and this young woman is amazing. She told me all about the classes she's taking, her grade point average. She shared with me that she'll be the first in her family to go to college. And I said, well, why don't you come up with an idea of a way that you can bring back students just like yourself to Rose Hill to create what we'll call a near-peer tutoring or mentoring program. And we'll match you with students that we think need to see a little sooner into the future than when we say, well, when you get to college, or, you know, when you get a job one day, but no, a few years down the road when you're in high school. And this young woman, I told her, this is your project. This is your entrance into college essay is going to be about this program. So do what you will with it, and we'll support you. She created the Rose Mentor Program, which stands for Raccoons Opportunity to Strive for Excellence. I recruited a teacher to stay 1 hour after school each week. I pitched the idea to the PTSA at the last meeting of the year, and I had very few details, but I said, this sounds great. Our 4th and 5th grade students are going to benefit from it. PTSA said yes, which is how things work at Rose Hill. We come up with an idea, it's good for kids, find the teacher to support it, the PTSA to support it, and we go with it. And I am very pleased to share with you this evening that there are 14 students from Lake Washington High School, all of whom graduated from Rose Hill Elementary, who will work with 25 students that have returned permission slips to participate in the program. So more to come on that. And finally, I just leave you with a few quotes about what parents think about our school. I love that my son always has a story to share about how his teacher makes him laugh, feel like his day is full of positive experiences. One of the things, the many things that I love about Rose Hill is that they strive to meet the needs of the entire school community, not just the students. Whether it's the PTSA sponsoring free family events, the community providing meals, clothes, and essentials to families in need, or the schools offering parenting and homework classes, I feel that we're all a part of this great learning community. Great thought is taken to the needs of each individual student, from classroom placement to extra help with reading or math. The Rose Hill staff strives for excellence, but puts the child first while doing so. And here's what our kids think about us. Rose Hill's fun and safe. Rose Hill teachers are easy to understand, and they make learning fun. And I attribute that comments about teachers at schools like Rose Hill know how to differentiate instruction for all learners, because we have the whole range in every classroom. I feel so happy to be a raccoon, and when I wake up, I say to myself, I can't wait to come to school. And so we want all 365 of our children to feel that way. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Busy school. Thank you very much. What a busy school and such wonderful programs. How exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to your staff and parents. Just very impressed.
Thank you.
Wow. And now for more wow.
Yes, more wow. So the next item on our agenda is recognition. And so we have Gary Moed, the principal at Juanita High School, and Cindy Duenas, principal of Tesla STEM School, here tonight to recognize our National Merit semifinalists and commended scholars. So why don't we begin with
Gary changed.
one. Oh, it's Gary. It's not Gary. It's Tim. Hi, Tim. So Tim Hupperton, Associate Principal at Juanita High School, is here this evening. So welcome, Tim. We'll have you come up and we'll start with recognition of our Juanita High School students.
Pardon me. Good evening. I'm Tim Hupperton, Associate Principal at Juanita High School, and I'm standing in for Gary, who is Gary Moore, Principal at Juanita High School, who is ill tonight and cannot attend. So it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to the Lake Washington School Board and to Superintendent Dr. Tracy Pierce, the Juanita High School students who are recognized as National Merit Scholars. We are pleased to announce that we have 10 students in the National Merit Scholar Program, 8 who are designated as Commended Scholars, and 2 students who have earned semifinalist distinction. Many of these students are here this evening to be acknowledged and recognized for their individual achievement. So congratulations to each member of the Juanita High School National Merit Scholar cohort. So let's meet our National Merit Scholars. So I will call each student to the podium, replace my spot, and you will have a moment to share a few words with the body. And I'd like to begin with Andrew Burt. Andrew, let's give him a round of applause.
Hello, my name is Andrew Burt, and I am honored to be here today. We were asked to answer a few questions. So to begin with, I intend to attend Brigham Young University in Utah when I graduate, and I hopefully will achieve a major in the English department when I get there, or after attending there, and perhaps after that become a professor and a writer. That's the dream. We were also asked to report of an educational experience of particular import that affected us. So I thought I would mention my experiences in mathematics these last 2 years. My teacher's contagious enthusiasm has inspired me to work harder and do it with enjoyably and enjoy working that hard working hard. I am a student of the humanities and have little appetite for mathematics generally. So I was very happy to have that inspiration, and for that I thank Mr. Hollinger and the environment which Juanita gave to allow that. I believe that the widespread idea of education today is to view it as a responsibility and a chore, whereas I believe historically it has been viewed as with the highest esteem, and as a dream for which many would die and for which many would live. And I believe that that is the ideal which we should strive for today, to have it be enjoyable as well as rigorous. And I believe that is what Juanita provides. I believe this is the key to unlock the most potential in students today. As John Adams once said, "Let us tenderly and kindly cherish, therefore, the means of knowledge. Let us dare to read, think, speak, and write." I am, again, honored to be here today, and I thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Kate Kloba.
Okay, hi. So I'm Kate Kloba. Some of the colleges, I still haven't narrowed it down. Some of the colleges I'd like to attend or hope to get into would be UCLA, USC, UW, or maybe University of Oregon. I want to start with a major in environmental sciences and possibly go on to law from there. I want to defend the environment. I'd have to say one of my best educational experiences to date at Juanita High School would be my AP biology teacher last year. She was a really great teacher. She did a lot of hands-on learning with us, and it was my hardest class. I could barely keep my grades up, but she really did a great job teaching me, and I went from a really bad grade in the beginning of the year to a pretty good one, and I thought that was great. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Adrian Leary.
Hello, thank you. I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm Adrian Leary. I intend to attend either the University of Oregon, University of Puget Sound, or Reed College in Portland, Oregon. And I would love to study history and geography. I think that my best educational experience at Juanita in general has been participating in the social studies classrooms that we have at Juanita. We have teachers who really value looking at history and all the social sciences very critically, and teachers who are not afraid to look at the harsher truths of what humans can do. And I think that is one of the most fascinating and valuable things that we can really study in this world. And I think that having teachers who are willing to observe these facts and facilitate discussion on them is great. And even just the culture of Juanita really allows for discussions to continue outside the classroom. And it's at least every week that some of my peers will exit a classroom and still be talking about whatever we were learning in class that day. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that you can have in an educational environment. And as Andrew left us with a quote, I will as well, with regards to human nature and the exploration thereof through history. The poet must never avert his gaze. Werner Herzog. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce to you Justin No.
Hello? Hi. My name is Justin Ngo, and some of the few colleges I plan to attend or wish to attend would be the UW or MIT or Harvard in California. And I plan on majoring in either computer science or computer engineering. One of the best educational experiences I've had to date would be this program we have at Juanita called the Cambridge program. In this class of 32 kids, you really get to know each other, and you really learn to support each other and help each other through hard times. And yeah, that's what's yeah.
Thank you, Justin. I'd like to ask Tess Pate to step forward.
Hi, I'm Tess Pate. I hope to attend either UC Santa Barbara or Case Western University and study biomedical engineering or neuroscience. At Juanita, my best learning experiences have been hands-on projects, and some of the best of these have been the Trebuchet project and the moving egg drop experiment in Ms. Friesen's physics class. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce to you Emily Peterson. And Emily is one of two of our national semifinalists.
Hi, I'm Emily Peterson. Right now I plan on attending either the University of Oregon or Scripps College, and I plan on majoring in either computer science or biology. I think one of the best educational experiences I've had is Mr. Hollinger, the same one Andrew talked about, teaching calculus, and I felt like I actually understood it. The most interesting educational experience I've had was dissecting the eye of a sheep in AP Biology. Thanks.
I'd like to introduce Chris Potter.
Hi, I'm Chris Potter. I don't have a speech prepared as much as my friend Andrew Britt, but I'll say what I can. So I'm planning to apply to Seattle University, University of Chicago, Columbia University, and some others. I'm hoping to major in history or English, and hopefully get a minor in music. I play the upright bass. My best educational experience to date at Juanita is last year in my AP Lang class. We had a teacher who was just very inspirational and really great guy, Peter Saruda. He taught my class, and I really liked reading Walden by Thoreau and Candide by Voltaire, and just exploring with the class all those ideas and just talking about it. And I feel like one of the strengths of Juanita in general is creating meaningful class discussions, because I mean that's really the essence of what education is trying to learn how to think for yourself and debate and think critically. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. A few students could not attend this evening, but nonetheless, they are certainly worthy of being honored for their achievements. So I'd like to introduce to you in their absence, Marianne Bjorner, Garrick Foyko-Frank, and Julian Keeley. So Garrick Foyko-Frank is one of our second national semifinalist scholars. So again, congratulations to the scholars this evening. Another round of applause, certainly.
Tim, thank you so much for being here tonight, and again, just an amazing group of students from Juanita. Before anyone goes, we also have an astounding group of students from Tesla STEM, so I'd like to welcome Cindy Duenas, principal, to recognize our students from Tesla STEM.
So thank you very much for inviting us here this evening. We actually have a senior class, so it's very exciting at Tesla STEM High School this year. Actually, every year has been pretty exciting. So I want to also congratulate Juanita High School, National Merit semifinalists and commended scholars. Job well done, great. I'd like Tesla STEM High School semifinalists to come up, please. You should know who you are. Come on.
My name is Maya Ganesan, and of course I'm a senior here at Tesla STEM. I would say that my most rewarding educational experience has not only just been coming to STEM, which has this incredible intellectual vibrancy about it, but also just getting to be a part of the environmental science department at this school. We have one of the strongest environmental science departments, I think, anywhere in the country, and it's afforded us to have these incredible opportunities like getting to do hands-on field work and traveling across the state for competitions, and I couldn't be more grateful for the experiences that I've had. I'd like to go to college on the East Coast. The Ivy Leagues would be a dream, but of course those are big dreams, and I would love to major in computer science and chemistry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kanad Diadar. I'm also a senior at Tesla STEM High School. I would prefer to major in electrical or mechanical engineering, one of the two, and of course go to school at one of the higher end schools, MIT, Carnegie Mellon. We'll see what happens. Best educational experience. So as Maya was talking about our environmental science department, we have a fantastic environmental science teacher by the name of Mike Town. I'm sure many of you have heard of him. And he encouraged us to participate these last couple years in an environmental science competition called Imagine Tomorrow, which is hosted by Washington State University. And it was just very rewarding because you gather hundreds of students from Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington all together trying to solve problems that we as a generation are going to face in the future. And having all that talent, all of that intellectual prowess in one area where everybody was presenting whatever they had thought of was super rewarding. And yeah, I'm very glad I participated in it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Yao, and I'm also a senior here at Tesla STEM. In terms of where I would love to attend, I plan to attend University of Washington and hopefully major in their CS department. I would also love to major in the mechanical engineering or electrical engineering department. So as you can tell, I'm an engineer here. And therefore, my favorite experience here at STEM was taking honors physics and now AP physics with Mr. Saxby. If you don't know him, he's probably, in my opinion, the best physics teacher there is out there. You should be in his classroom when he's teaching. The energy there is just amazing, and everyone there is really hands-on, and we do labs every single day, so the learning is very integrated with everything. And I also love to, my second favorite experience here at STEM is my English class with Miss Burt. Even though I'm an engineer, I know it's important to balance out the STEM side with the humanities side, and she's really brought the humanities side to all of us here at STEM, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alex Hoare. I am also a senior at Tesla STEM. I plan on studying computer science. Don't know where yet. Still trying to figure that out. On the sheet, I wrote down that my most memorable educational experience was graduating kindergarten, because I didn't put much thought into it. But after a bit of further reflection, I really last year I had AP US History with Mr. Leneker, who he went above and beyond and challenged us not to just, talk and read and understand, but to analyze it and to judge what we were, everything really. And he argued with us, and it was great, and he was a great teacher. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Andrew Chronister. I would like to attend, I have several colleges that I'm looking at, but among them prominently are MIT, Carnegie Mellon, or UW, where I would like to study computer engineering or mathematics. My best educational experience to date, I have to agree with both the mention of Mr. Saxby and Mr. Leneker. Mr. Saxby's physics discussions are absolutely amazing and engaging, and Mr. Leneker's political science course last year was probably the closest thing I've experienced to like a almost college-like discussion experience. So that was very valuable for me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Liu. The college I'd like to attend would be Carnegie Mellon, and I'd like to major in mechanical or maybe architectural engineering there. And my best educational experience to date at STEM especially has been all of the really unique opportunities we get there. And so at STEM there is an internship program that all of the juniors were offered last year, where we all got internships at either like a tech or an engineering company. And so I was an intern at a microgreen polymers manufacturing company, and I just thought it was really great that we were able to see like what a real tech engineer does in the field. And many of the other, like Kanad and Maya said earlier, with Imagine Tomorrow and the other projects for the lab concentrations, we get to meet some of like the architects that come to our school that help build the school, and it's just been really great being able to see what the tech is like.
And now if my commended scholars would come forward. Don't be shy because you're not at school. They're really not shy like this at school. There you go. So you guys come on up.
Hi, my name's Alka Pai, and as for the colleges I'd like to attend, I'm still undecided, but I'm hoping to pursue a major in computer science. And one of the greatest experiences at STEM has been through the club called TSA, Technology Student Association, and I think it's been a really great experience getting some hands-on applications to what we're learning at STEM through a bunch of different competitive events across the country. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Justin, and one of my dream colleges that I would like to attend is Pomona, which that's sort of like a higher one, but my goal there is to get a major in perhaps biology or neuroscience, and maybe go on to get an MD. And my favorite educational experience at STEM so far has definitely been environmental science. I felt like our teacher, Mr. Town, really opened our eyes to the problems that plague this world at the moment.
Hi, my name is Pavitra Siva. I plan to major in aerospace engineering with a dual degree in mechanical engineering. As for schools that I'd like to attend, some of them on my list are MIT, Stanford, and UW, for the reason that at each of these schools you see a high level of innovation, and I think that's something that we have at our school as well. There's this great group of students who I'm really lucky to be with and study with and learn with, and we also have an amazing group of teachers, which brings me to our educational experiences. Like many of the students mentioned, one of my favorites is environmental science, and Mr. Town, he's a great teacher. He does projects in a way that causes you to, instead of learning from a book, you have to kind of do the project, think of your own ideas, and figure it out in an interesting way. And the other one is literature with Miss Bird, who's here today. And I couldn't write before 10th grade, and then in her class I really learned to kind of bring out emotion in my paper and symbolism, and really I learned how to do something that I couldn't do before.
Hi, my name is Murgang Bhardwaj. I also attend STEM High School. For colleges, I'd say I'm interested in UW and even MIT, Caltech, those colleges. As for my favorite best educational experience, Mr. Town's been mentioned a couple of times, but I think I'm going to mention him again. Mr. Town's a great teacher. He ventures beyond the curriculum to talk about current events in environmental science, and just last year, I've had the privilege of attending the most unique class I've ever had, Environmental Science and Sustainable Design, where we engage in many unique projects like transportation modeling, house design, and even like a 2D world architecture plan. And that really made me interested in engineering, and really made me excited to want to, go to school every day, attend these classes, and also the other classes at STEM. So, yeah, thank you.
Hello, I'm JD Daly. Colleges, I haven't really nailed everything down yet, but UW, Carnegie Mellon, MIT, Case Western are some examples of what I'd like to go to. I'd like to major in mechanical or chemical engineering, probably. And as far as most valuable educational experiences, I'd probably put down the house design project that Murgang talked about earlier, where we designed our own house, and we decided materials, we decided how the basic plan, we decided what the lot that it would be on would be like. And I feel like the degree of freedom that we get in our projects and our education at STEM is really something that makes the school very unique. And one more thing I would say about the freedom that we have here is in the projects that we do through the school that aren't necessarily related to the school. Again, Murgang and I are in a group with Maya and Kanad and, yeah, okay, nobody else here, where we're monitoring the water quality at Seidel Creek up north near, near Redmond. And we're going to be monitoring that for the purpose of a dam that is going to be taken down. And so we're going to be monitoring the water quality before, and we're going to be handing it off to a team of freshmen and sophomores to monitor the water quality after.
Is this being filmed? Yes? Good. Good. If I had known that our academic proficiency would be rewarded with news coverage, I would have studied even harder, if that's possible. which I'm not saying it is. In the letter that we all received a few days ago, in the very last paragraph, it said that your success is not just your own. It's a culmination of a lot of small details over your whole life that have been contributing to where you got now, like your family, your community, your friends, and that is so true. I don't think I would be standing here today without the help of everything and everyone. So I'd like to start off by thanking my parents. I'd like to thank the Academy. But of course, by Academy I mean STEM, because it is quite an incredible school, mostly because of the incredible staff that runs it, like Miss Duenas, who works so hard, harder than I hope I ever have to in my life. And it makes it an incredible place. But also the teachers, like many of the incredible stories that you've heard so far, which are all true, believe it or not. For example, I came into 10th grade thinking I didn't like writing, and I was proven wrong by Miss Spur. I used to think that history was repetitive and tedious, and I was proven wrong by Mr. Leneker. I used to think that school lunches were subpar, and I was surprised to find that they were in fact par. So I won't bore you with the long list of universities that I picked out, which range from nice to quite nice. But I will say that we have all received a lot of privileges, and I hope to do something good with everything I've received. And like the students before that I finished off with a quote, I'd like to also, one that's very important to me. Life is like a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get. And I think that it really matters on what you do with them. Thank you very much.
You're so funny, I didn't know. So thank you so much. Thank you, parents, for coming out. I know how hard parents work in this equation, and you were so eloquent in your speech there, thanking your parents and whatnot. So thank you to all the parents at both schools. We know how hard you work, all three schools. There was an elementary school earlier, so thank you. Thank you.
I don't think I said wow loud enough earlier when I introduced this. This was fabulous. It's always an honor to have students come and families and parents to take the time to come and share with us a little bit about what they're going to do in the future. It's certainly gratifying to us as a board to realize the wonderful, not just realize, but to know and see the wonderful education that we hope you have been provided come to fruition and show us that it really does happen out there. You guys are fabulous. Wish you wonderful success in your future. And again, thank you very much for coming. We're going to take a couple-minute break just so you can go home, because I think you all need to study from the sounds of it. Evening. Each person would be asked to come to the center podium and please tell us your name and the attendance area or school that you reside near. And you will have 3 minutes total to speak. We have a stoplight here for you. And the yellow light, when you see it, means you have about a minute. And we're going to ask that you please wind down your comments and be ready to stop when the red light comes on. And since we have a number of people signed up, I'm going to be pretty strict about the red light. So please do stay within your 3 minutes. We do have several people who have signed up on one topic, and my request to you in order to not only get your message across, but for the board's benefit, is that if each of you would speak on something a little different and not just repeat the same comments that you heard from the person before. So that just makes it so we get a fuller picture of whatever your concerns are or comments are. So the first person I have on here is Joe, is it Rames? Pretty close. I usually don't do last names because I butcher those, so it is on.
Well, my name is Joe Ramus. I'm from the Audubon Elementary area of the southernmost boundary of the district, and I'm here to talk about the transportation issues we're having. In 2010, your predecessor, Dr. Pierce, Dr. Kimball, came to Audubon to talk about the realignment and how Audubon would be moving up through Rose Hill and to Lake Washington from the Redmond Junior High and Senior High areas. As parents, we certainly had concerns because it was change. Wanted to know what was going to be impacted. One of those concerns was simply about transportation. Lake Washington High School is further away than Redmond High was. And that was a big concern, how our kids were going to get to school, how long it was going to take. So Dr. Kimball assured us that we would have transportation arrangements that were similar to what we had with Redmond High. Today, that bus runs right by our neighborhood and takes kids to Redmond High. 25 minutes, I might add. So prior to starting this year's school, we voiced concern about the lack of communication, frankly, from the district, because nobody really came and told us how our kids were going to get to school. So we asked. They came and then said, you're going to be on Metro, you're going to get your passes on the first day of school, and you're going to use the standard routes that are offered in your neighborhood via Metro. So we did what most parents would do. We got our son up before school began in the summer and at 6:30, and we got on the bus. We found that that ride was going to take about an hour, which we didn't think was reasonable to essentially have 2 hours of commuting by Metro every day. So we were assured by the district that transportation, that was not correct, that it was going to be shorter than that. Since we just got off the bus, we were a little ambivalent about that response. So during the first 2 weeks of school, we had our son Rod track his time. It took him 58 minutes in the morning for the first 2 weeks of school, and 73 minutes in the afternoon. For those math people out there, that's 131 minutes. We were informed that this was not out of the norm for the district. I'm not sure what the norm is for Metro, but it's certainly not the norm for yellow bus routes in the district, which averaged 44 minutes, longest bus ride time. If you add in walking time, I'm going to give you another, let's give you another 16. So that's 30 minutes each way. So we were looking at double that. So to date, the community really hasn't been engaged. We're here with a bunch of people from Audubon who are going to hopefully talk about their experience, some students too. And essentially, we're just looking for the district to acknowledge that 131 minutes a day is not really a reasonable thing to expect our kids to have to do. I have 3 kids. The first of which is a freshman. That tells me that I have about 2,000 hours of Metro bus time in the next 8 years that our kids are going to be on those buses. So we're looking for your assistance to help us get the district to acknowledge and move forward.
Thank you. Martha.
Good evening. I'm Martha Ramus, and I'm in the Audubon Elementary area as well. And as you all know, we were redistricted in 2010, and we were told at the time that we were a swing school, which is the term to describe our unique location in the district. It's not a very flattering term, I might add. Your swing school students have just entered Lake Washington High School as 9th graders with bus service that we parents think is not acceptable in terms of commute times, and from outside appearances shows a lack of planning on the school district's part, given that the district has had 3+ years to set up busing systems for our students. My son Rod is a freshman, and I'm here to speak about his 2-hour-a-day commute, using Metro that involves 2 buses, a lot of time walking to and standing in the elements at bus stops. I myself have commuted to Lake Washington High School on this route. It was a learning experience that gave me a better understanding of the realities the students facing this commute deal with every school day. The only silver lining I had on that day was that it was sunny. To that end, I think the best way to help you understand my son and all the Audubon students' commute is to invite all of you to try this commute yourselves, like I did. This may help you to see how urgently we need to make changes to the busing situation for our students, or at the very least help you to empathize with our students and their families that are impacted by the school district's choice of busing for our area. If you're so inclined to accept this invitation, I can provide you with the route details, and you may park at my house so you can get the true feeling of what the school district considers a commute that is not out of the norm. We have 2 other children that will follow Rod into Lake Washington High School, and it's our sincere hope that we can work together to resolve this issue quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Rod?
Hi, my name is Rod. My parents just talked. It takes me about an hour to get to school in the morning, and I really don't like this because when I have to go, when I go to school in the morning, it really just kind of sucks to have to wait for about 15 minutes to 5 minutes for a Metro bus that is rarely on time to get to school when, students at, Redmond High get a, like my dad said, 25-minute bus ride. It doesn't help at all that in the afternoon my bus ride is up to, almost an hour, usually over an hour, and that I have to wait almost 45 minutes, I believe, at the Interlake Transit Center. And I just really find this not suitable to my education and stuff like that. One other thing that I think that really needs to be addressed is that if your bus is late in the morning and you don't get to school in time, it is marked as an unexcused absence unless you have your parents come in and talk to, unless you have your parents call into the school. I don't think that students should be marked down on their, tardy. They should be marked as tardy when variables out of their control are the cause of their problem, and that's really all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Maureen?
Hi, good evening. My name is Maureen Bachter, and I have a 9th grader at Lake Washington High this year and a 5th grader at Audubon Elementary. So I'm here today to hopefully provide you with a snapshot of what transportation has been like for my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, over the past 5 weeks since the start of the school year, and to add my voice to the growing number of families asking for a better solution. But first, allow me to provide some brief context to my comments. As you know, other parents have mentioned as well, this class of freshman students is the first class of Audubon students to go to LDUB. But they were also the first class of students that went to Rose Hill Middle School as 7th graders. This was not an easy transition for those kids to make. And just as they were starting to settle into the middle school routine, it was time to go off to the high school after 2 years in middle school. This is also the same class of students who saw a considerable number of their classmates elect to go to Redmond Middle School and Redmond High School, get grandfathered into the system, thus effectively putting an end to many of their childhood friendships and connections. Having dealt with so many firsts and done our best to embrace the changes, we find ourselves in a situation that, quite frankly, feels like a little bit like adding insult to injury at this point. The current transportation solution we're left with is impractical, is chaotic, and adds a tremendous amount of stress to our daily lives. We've seen buses run anywhere between 8 minutes early to 15 minutes late. If you're not there at the bus stop when the bus is early, you miss the bus. And of course, you're there waiting for up to 15, I think this morning was 25 minutes at the transit center. So it results, of course, them missing their bus connections, lengthy waiting times at the bus stops, and showing up late to school. Our children are having to spend upwards of 2 hours a day commuting, a distance that would otherwise take them a total of 30 to 45 minutes if they had a dedicated transportation route. As a family, we cannot possibly imagine going through this for the next 8 years with our children, and we urge you to please partner with us to find a transportation solution that would work for them, and we'd like to thank you for your efforts so far.
Thank you very much. And is it, I'm going to mispronounce it. Oh.
Good evening. My name is Nayana Shadrack, and I have my 14-year-old, just like the other parents who spoke before, who goes to Lake Washington High. I'm going to speak specific to my child. The nearest bus stop to our house for my child to take the first bus to school is a good 10 to 15-minute walk. Then she has to cross a busy street and transfer to a bus that takes her to school. All this while carrying a 20 to 25-pound backpack on her back. Each day is a guessing game of what time the bus is going to be at the bus stop. As it's been mentioned, it's a 40-minute or more wait for another bus to come if my child misses the first one. We are a full-time working family with another child at the elementary school level. Mornings are crazy as is, without having the additional worry of did my child make it to school on time. These former Audubon Elementary Rose Hill children are in my opinion, are at a great disadvantage. They are bound to be tired even as they reach school. I'm sure there are statistics to show that how class productivity can be affected because of this. We worry about snow days. When buses are on snow routes, what's the plan then? At the end of the day, our kids did not ask to be zoned to a school that takes them an hour or more to get to and back. All we want for them is the convenience of a single, reliable bus, and we sincerely request that the district provide it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know I saw a couple more. I'm going to get those so we have all the buses together. Kathy?
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathy Skalak, and I have two children, two daughters that go to Rose Hill Middle School, so I'll be talking about another bus issue that we're having, the overcrowding of the buses. And I'm very concerned about it. The bus ride every morning is very stressful for my girls and for all the kids. And it's a terrible way to start the day. This morning, as a matter of fact, their bus was a half an hour late, so they arrived to school exhausted, and I was at work and I got a text message from one of them saying they just got on the bus at 7:40 and school had already started. So the kids at the last stop of their bus route don't even know if there will be a seat for them. And there have been multiple occasions where kids are left on the side of the road at their bus stop because there's no room for them. And the ones that do get a seat, it's a very packed, tightly to 3 to a seat with heavy backpacks and their musical instruments. And my daughters have told me that if you're on the aisle and the bus takes a turn, you're in the aisle sitting on the floor. And the bus driver is doing the very best that he can do in a very frustrating situation. And he often has to pull over and talk to the kids and tells them they're not getting on fast enough, which then the reality is that they end up being late. And they're late on a regular basis. And for my 7th grader who is taking algebra first period, this is having a real negative impact on her learning. So I hope that you can find a solution to this problem. And, you know, the only saving grace right now is that this morning it was a beautiful day and it was light, and we had parents standing at that bus stop with them, making phone calls to the district to find out what was happening with the bus. And so I hope that this problem can be solved before it turns rainy and dark in the mornings. I'm sorry, which school? This is Rose Hill Middle School. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Schaffner, and I have a daughter at Rose Hill as well. And this morning really opened my eyes because the bus was 25 minutes late. And I hadn't even thought about this issue before, honestly. I just found out that the buses are overcrowded and that there is a driver shortage. But there has been no communication on this issue. It was a big surprise to have them 25 minutes late. And they're unattended for 25 minutes, and often children are left at the bus stop as well because there's no room on the bus, and they need to wait for another bus to come and pick them up. So I think the driver shortage is one thing that needs to be addressed within, I guess, the next couple of weeks. But the safety issues of having children sit in the aisles, on the floor, and also being left unattended at the bus stop for so long, and the lack of communication to the parents, those issues need to be addressed yesterday. Those are unacceptable safety issues. Thank you.
And thank you. Did you want to say anything about this? Huh? That's all that signed up for the bus issues. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it looks like everyone who came tonight to speak to a transportation or a bus issue has now had the opportunity to make a comment. But just before I make a comment, if there was anyone else who didn't sign up who was here to speak about transportation or any bus concerns, now would be the time we'd ask you to come forward for your comment as well.
I would just say that the elementary school students are also being left at bus stops because it's overcrowded for Audubon pickup.
Okay.
So it's not just the middle schools that are being.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate.
Mark.
Okay. What we're just to
No,
clarify.
yeah, actually, I don't want to open this to being just questions from the audience. If you want to come and do it, if you'd like to come forward and speak, you need to do it here.
I'm also Rose Hill Middle School, my daughter, and I just wanted to state that when we looked back at the calendar, my daughter's been late to school for 22 days out of the 23 days because of this issue of the overcrowding and kids being left behind. That's all. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and your name?
Allison McElroy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll have Dr. Pierce make a comment here.
First, I just want to thank everyone who came out tonight to raise the concern, and I appreciate the spirit with which, people have asked for urging us to find a solution and to work together. Appreciate that folks have acknowledged, so that I realize there's been transportation communication when parents have contacted transportation department, so people are aware of the reality of the driver shortage and some of those things. Not to make any excuse about any of the situation. I hear there's safety concerns and concerns that need to be addressed. We've got two people here who can help at least ensure that we've got contact information, and we can get back with you about what our next steps will be. Our Deputy Superintendent of Operational Services, Janine Fogard, oversees operational services in our district. Transportation is a department in that division. Forrest Miller is our Director of Support Services. Transportation Department falls within his larger Department of Support Services. They're both here tonight, and so I'm going to ask them, so we can continue on with the board meeting and public comment, to make sure that we've got everyone's contact information here, and you can be assured that we will be back with you shortly about next steps in this issue.
And Janine, are you going to just head out into the lobby if those of you who would like to follow Janine and Forrest out there, just make sure you give your information to them? Yep. we'll get a follow-up from, as a board. Yes, and, well, yes.
I want to, in the board packet.
Yes. I would like to also say that we do it publicly at the next board meeting as
Yes,
well.
I agree.
Just so
I'd
that we
like to
make
do
sure we
both.
get that feedback back. Yep.
Yeah, let's put that on as a follow-up item for the next board meeting. Perfect. Okay, different type of transportation. Now we're going to move to bikes. Glenn?
It's all about getting to school tonight.
It is.
And getting home.
An important part of it all.
My name is Glenn Bowman. My home school district is Rose Hill Elementary, where my kids went to kindergarten, although they went to community school after that. And now I have a son at Rose Hill Middle School. I'm here both as a parent of 2 kids in the district, but also as co-director of Kirkland Greenways. If you haven't heard of us, we are a group that is working with cities on the east side to try and make it safer for people of all ages and all abilities to walk and bicycle around, which includes kids getting to school. And so I'm here to talk about the district's bike to school policy, or at least I thought I was here to talk about that, because we have hundreds of members across the east side, and we've had quite a few parents coming to us raising issues with specific individual schools and their specific individual school policies about getting kids to school on bikes. And I'm not here to complain about any individual schools or talk about any individual schools, just that we looked at it and looked at all the policies, and they're all different. Many of them reference a district policy, which I thought that's what I was coming here to talk about until I was in contact with John Holman, and I found out that there is no district policy, even though all of these principals are saying, well, here's our policy, and it's because of this district policy, which doesn't exist. So, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe this was just today, so maybe it does exist or maybe it doesn't. But regardless, I'm here to ask that the district create a very clear policy which says that Lake Washington School District is a walking and biking district, and families and kids are encouraged and supported to get to school by active means whenever possible. Obviously, some of these kids that are taking hour-plus bus rides maybe aren't going to be riding their bikes to Lake Washington High School, but there's a very high, especially when you're looking at elementary school, there's a very high percentage of the families who can get there by bike or by foot. And some of the specific, I'm running out of time, so I won't do that. Basically, yeah, I think we all want to support this. Lots of studies showing that kids who get to school by active means are, awake, alert, ready to learn, and it has even more benefit than both breakfast and lunch together. So I think that this is something that the school the district seems to be putting onto the PTAs and saying, yes, we support biking, and it's the PTA that does this. But I think the district needs to do it and make it part of the transportation plan. And Kirkland Greenways would like to help the district write this policy, so we're here to help.
Thank you very much.
Do we need a motion or something to say that we're going to do that, or is that at a different time I would do that?
No, we don't need a motion to do that.
Okay.
I think that's something that one needs to be looked at. I do know the history, just from when my kids were in elementary school, that it was left to each building because each building knows more specifically the safety of where the roads are around them that are unsafe, that a bike would not be safe, but that they should make the rules around that issue. But I don't remember about the district one, so we'll have Tracy look into that and get back to us.
One I'd like to follow up on and make sure we all have the same information, and then we can loop back again at potentially the next meeting. I mean, I can loop back with the board prior to that, but we can follow up at the next meeting in terms of our direction, so we are closing.
You want to make sure that you give your contact information if you have it with you here, or you can email it in so we have it so the district has that information.
My understanding, though, when this question came to me at work, was that because I did do some checking around with policies on biking through Department of Health and OSPI and Children's, that there was a risk management standard. So I would look for that.
The short answer would be that each individual building works with risk management, and we look at the guidelines and so forth to develop a policy specific to that school. And so it's just the nuance between, is there a district policy that says here's who can ride bikes to school and what grade you have to be and et cetera, or is that left to each individual building with guidance from district risk and safety manager? So I'd just like to loop back so I can make sure I've got all of the absolute accurate information and we're kind of speaking the same language in terms of terminology, and then we can follow up on this issue. And I would either ask Catherine Reith, our Director of Communications, to make sure we've got your contact information, or John Holman, who's also here. So,
yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
And they're both in the back, right there. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Chris, I'm going to, I don't do those last names because I mess them up every time.
How you doing, folks? My name is Chris Subotnick. I have a student at Lakeview Elementary. And this is in the theme of the upcoming rebounding. And I want to request that the board consider both pre and post rebounding, that we do a little bit more rigorous and frequent residency verification to ensure that our students are getting to their appropriate school. So, simple request. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll let you have that information to deal with. And I have two other people to speak. Mark Nelson. That one I can do. I'm not going to do.
Good evening. I'm Mark Nelson. I'm a resident of the Lake Washington Learning Community. I've been a resident of Lake Washington School District for 25 years, starting out in East Redmond. I have, since the recent loss of voter confidence on funding, been following the Lake Washington School District quite closely, and am here tonight to see if I can offer some ideas and a few requests on how, on the school district reboundary initiative that's underway, how that might be more successful. The principal method for me to obtain information from the Lake Washington School District is via the website. And I do notice reader boards when I drive by schools and so forth, but that's the principal way. When I went to the Lake Washington School District site to look for what I call boundary revisions, I found finally it was something called a housing plan. I've never thought of the Lake Washington School District as being in the housing business, and now that I know to look for a housing plan, I know where to go on the website, and I bookmarked it. But I would ask that the district call it what it is. Secondly, I'd say make the information available to the public early and often. I heard earlier tonight concerning transportation issues. I don't know much about those, but I heard a theme that people were asking for information early and often. I would ask that the study sessions, I was in the room next door, that information, the packets be made available early. The packets, I understand the practice of the district is not to make those available online. I have a suggestion for that. Make what I heard you referred to as the board folder public. Then I can go click on it and I can look at it and I can see what it is you're looking at, rather than, and I hope I never have to do this with the school district, a public disclosure request. I'd ask that you involve the public. I don't have any kids in the Lake Washington schools anymore. I'm perfectly willing to be involved in this. I've communicated with Tracy on this, on the bond issue. I'm very willing to be involved to help these issues be successful, but I think the board has got to do some differences in the way it communicates with the public and its willingness to be open towards the public. So thank you for the opportunity. I'll be watching closely. I hope I can go to the website and see things, hear audio from study sessions and find packets, and certainly find the information that you all have the benefit of looking at. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. And last but not least, Lindsay.
Okay, you don't have to give the last name a go.
Yeah.
I'm Lindsay Hanselak. I also have a child at Lakeview Elementary School. And along with Chris Sabatnik, I would request of the school board to verify residences for the students. I know for a fact that last year in my son's class, there was a child that is out of the Lakeview boundary. I also know that this year there appears to be 2 to 3 children that live outside of the boundary and are varianced in. The other consideration that I would ask of the board when redrawing the boundary is proximity to school. We live a half mile away from the school. It's an easy walk for us to get there. If we were reboundaried and sent to another school, it would be roughly 4 times the distance by bus. So those are the 2 things that I would ask of the school board. One would be to verify all student enrollment and address within the school boundary, and 2, to look at the proximity of students to the school when reassigning the boundary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to both of you for joining us in our study session earlier. Okay, so you have that information, and that will close our public comment unless there's somebody in the audience that did not have an opportunity to speak that wanted to. Now is your chance. Got to come forward, please.
Hi, my name is Erickson, and I also have 2 children who go to Lakeview Elementary. My request is actually more around the specifics of what you are doing to get the information necessary for the reboundary process. Specifically the survey that was actually made possible and basically open access to everyone to get general input. Questions that were actually there, it was up to my particular perspective that they're very vague and they're actually subjective questions. An example would be, within one of the choices that you were given within the survey questions, the word demographics was used without any sort of example, any sort of context about basically why you were asking that particular question and what it meant to particular families, particular parents, or to the reboundary process itself. So my request again is basically when you actually do these particular surveys or the actions necessary to gather information, that I don't want to say a little bit more thought go into it, just recognize the fact that there are terms that are made very vague, and it actually would skew what sort of input that you do get. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will take that information in as well. We truly appreciate the feedback from folks when you know, to help us. We're trying to make our communication be as accurate and thorough as we can. We're working at beefing it up more and more every time, every meeting, every month, and so we appreciate the feedback because the feedback then helps us and the district to do a better job and look at what they're doing and expand it. So that is our goal, is to be as open about what we have and make it easy for people to find things. So please do continue to do that. Much appreciated.
Jackie, could I request, so later in superintendent's report, I was going to highlight a couple of things that we talked about in the work session tonight, and draw people's attention to the place on the website where the boundary information is, as well as loop back to where you find study session information. So I won't do the whole superintendent's report right now, but if I could just highlight those 2 aspects, because I think it's timely based on what the comment was.
Perfect.
So I believe that, I think it would be helpful to actually visually show 2 pages on the website. Catherine, could I ask you, please, Catherine's our Director of Communications, to just come forward to bring up 2 web pages for me. And so while Catherine's coming up, the first piece that I will address is that in order to ensure that the information about the boundary process and timeline is available to people and people know where it is, there's now a link on the home page of the district website, right to the right, that says boundary process. So it's very clear that it's about boundary. And you click on that link and it brings you to a dedicated web page about the boundary process. And on that page, you can actually click on a link to sign up to receive email updates about the process and work. So that's the first thing that I just want to highlight for everyone, and Catherine's going to show this to us here in real time. So right on the right of the site, where it says what's new on this site, it says district-wide boundary change.
On the front screen. Sorry, it's coming.
Oh, thank you.
We've
Yes.
got one over the side, but not the one behind us. We have one there.
It's right there, and it's coming up here as well.
We'll get it up there. This one's coming.
So just want to, I was going to, like I said, do this later in superintendent's report. So right from the front page of the website, and if you click on that link, District-Wide Boundary Change Project, there's a dedicated page here about the boundary change process and an opportunity here on the right to sign up to receive reboundary process email updates. So anytime there's new information to share, progress on the committee, so forth, when there's new content posted on this page, if you've signed up to receive boundary process email updates, you'll receive an email that lets you know there's new content here. And so you can see there's already some content here, including a link to the criteria survey that was mentioned, and also some background information that gives, and this is new this year, so I wanted to highlight this tonight, all of the information that was discussed at the study session on short-term capacity plans that had to be developed prior to us beginning a boundary process. So that's just one thing I was going to highlight later. The other piece that's new to the website this year that I wanted to highlight was across the top, you can see there's a link, a tab that says School Board. And when you click on that, it brings you to a site dedicated to the work of our school board. And you can view materials from the study sessions. And so I think this is important because really prior to this year, we haven't had this level of information access. If you click on board study sessions, you can see that right after the study session, all of the information that was discussed and shared that's in that board folder that was mentioned earlier is right here on the site. So you can click into the PowerPoints, the memos. For each session, we've got a one-page overview that just gives a synopsis of what the study session is about. Then we have a memo, a multi-page written-out memo that provides background information and kind of an overview of the situation, the topic that's being discussed, and all of the pertinent information, as well as a PowerPoint that just accompanies the written documents. And so we've had 2 study sessions so far this school year. And all of the information from those study sessions is right here, publicly available on our district website. And so tomorrow, the study session materials, just as they appeared in the folder tonight, the study session was on boundary process, will be posted here as well. So again, all I just wanted to highlight those 2 things that I was going to highlight later in superintendent's report. I, at the PTSA council meeting last week, just want to share that I also highlighted the fact that we've got the dedicated boundary page. So we're trying to communicate in as many ways as possible, both in in-person venues as well as through our district newsletters like Connections, to let people know that these are new enhancements and highlights to our communication.
I also would like to note that on here there is a place for, if you have a comment, if someone has a comment about the materials or questions or whatever, they can go to the public comment and link and can send that right in, and then someone from the district would respond to them. So we're coming along here pretty well.
Do we want to consider, since they're being posted to the board folder, obviously things can change sometimes, but do we want to consider posting them here as drafts prior to the study session? It might be easier for me to download them from the portal.
Yeah.
You could put them, I mean, we're already discussing them there. So we could put them up, they could be drafts until
I think we could put
after our
them up
meeting.
as draft, probably right before the
As long as
study
people know,
session.
yes, because some of this
Mhm.
stuff doesn't get finished.
Right.
I think most people can understand that. People are busy, and as somebody who
Yeah,
never
and,
finishes
sometimes
PowerPoints
we're just
early.
double checking facts and following, up until the study session begins. So it's not a matter of not wanting to share that information with people. I mean, it's out here. It's just a matter of, we.
I know, it's hard, but if it's
But
going
we
up
can-
on
we
the
can
board
post it
folder,
here. Sure.
it wouldn't be any different
Mhm.
than trying to get it here.
Yeah, that's true.
And would I have to
would agree
enter
with
my
that.
code for every single document then? If not, that would make me happy.
Yep, I think that's something we can do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. And again, thank you.
I have
for-
to admit, this is a new world. This is the first time in years we've had people interested in the study session, so thank you.
It was nice to have an audience today. Okay, we'll now move on to our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Tracy, poll the board, please.
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Jackie? Mark?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes.
Donations.
Donations, tab 5. We have a number of donations tonight totaling $27,038. So we've got a $3,700 donation from the Horace Mann Elementary PTSA to Mann Elementary to support field trips, $1,187 from the Renaissance School PTSA to Renaissance School to purchase art and science supplies, $5,000 from the Environmental and Adventure School PTO to EAS to support field trips, community stewardship activities, and electives program, $6,454 from the Evergreen Middle School PTSA to Evergreen Middle School to purchase student agendas, $4,300 from the Kirkland Middle School PTSA to Kirkland Middle to provide a stipend for after-school homework club, $3,133 from the Stella Scola PTO to Stella Scola to provide stipends for enrichment, their enrichment extracurricular program, $1,265 from the Eastlake High School Softball Booster Club to Eastlake High School to purchase insulation material associated with the batting cage purchased in May of 2014, and $2,000 from Christopher and Barbara Kaler to Emerson K-12 to support ceramics class and purchase school-related supplies. All total tonight, we've got $27,038 of very generous donations.
And thank you to all of our community and PTA that provided those funds for our schools. I know they appreciate them very much. And just as I do every now and then, a reminder that this list is just the tip of the iceberg of what is actually donated to our schools, both in things, smaller amounts of money which are not required to come to the board, and time. And time is, if we did that, would be just an astronomical amount of money when you evaluate the hourly wage that the feds allow for volunteering. There is a figure, I don't remember it, but there is a figure for that. Okay, on to our non-consent agenda, and the first is resolution number 2196.
Thank you. This resolution is regarding redirecting bond proceeds and matching funds. And if you turn to tab 6, I'd like to read the situation recommendation to you. In November of 2005, the board passed resolution number 1969 authorizing a special election on February 7th, 2006 in order to propose the issuance of general obligation bonds in the amount of $436 million. The bonds were to be used for Phase 2 of the district's modernization program, which modernized 11 schools and built one new school, Carson Elementary. This bond election passed, and the district proceeded to sell $423,025,000 of the bonds over the next 6 years in order to complete the projects. The projects were completed on time and under budget. The district estimates it will have approximately $12 million of unspent bond funds remaining. In addition, the district originally estimated that it would receive $23 million of state construction funding assistance for these projects. The district actually received $33 million, of state construction funding assistance. $3 million of these funds were designated to pay interest on the 2012 limited general obligation bonds, which were issued to front fund projects from the 2011 six-year capital projects levy. Due to the failure of the 2014 bond measures and the need to serve the district's growing enrollment, there's a need to redirect unused funds to be used for additional projects. These projects include purchase and installation of portable classrooms, acquisition of land, modification of building interiors, remodeling, upgrading, and equipping classrooms as necessary for instructional programs, addition of permanent classroom space at Redmond Elementary School, and bond planning and pre-design. In order to use the unspent bond funds and unallocated state matching funds on additional projects, it's necessary for the board to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution modifying the original bond resolution. A public hearing has been scheduled for this evening. Action on the adopting the resolution will be placed on the October 20 board meeting agenda. The proposed resolution is attached, and the recommendation is that the Board of Directors hold a public hearing regarding redirecting bond proceeds and matching funds as outlined in Resolution 2196.
With that, I will open the public meeting. And so I would ask if there's anyone in the audience that was here to speak on this resolution, number 2196, about redirecting the bond proceeds and matching funds, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. And maybe before, just for background information for the board, the material, this information has been published where?
I'm going to ask Barbara, our Director of Business Services, who is here this evening, to just address the issue. If you could come to the podium, Barbara, if you don't mind. Just the question is around process for communication, and there's a typical process that's required by law, including the public hearing this evening, and Barbara can just briefly speak to the process for communicating and about the hearing and so forth.
Per our standard public hearing, it is part of the board agenda, and then I believe Diane sends those agendas out to the media, and it's posted on our website so public can access that and provide a notice of the public hearing, and then they can come to the meeting and provide comment.
Thank you. And I think, probably the question might be, is it the same sort of process as is required with the budget? And it's a different process that's required from the budget.
It is not. The budget process is unique in the fact that we have to publish ads, legal public notices in the paper. That is unique to the budget process.
Okay. I guess I'm just considering we had no one here this evening to speak. I'm just wondering if there's, since we've got 2 weeks till we see this again to vote on it, an opportunity for people who aren't here or might have a comment. Is there some way we could at least let them know they could email or send any questions?
We have public comment email on our website that goes to, that the public could use.
Okay.
So anytime they have comment, there is a public comment email.
Could we put something on the front page of the website? Because obviously that's going to be the first place people would look, especially if they read it regularly. I just would like to make sure we cover that base as well.
Sure. I can work with Catherine to do that.
I can understand why there's not a lot of, it's just repurposing money for student needs to other student needs as far as place, but I just don't want to I just want to make sure that if someone has a comment to make, that they still have an opportunity to do it.
Absolutely. We welcome any comment in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
So,
and then you can let us know at the next meeting if there's anything that's come through. Great. That'd be great. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you much. Okay, on to the monitoring report for intermediate.
Okay, so John and Matt are here again to present end result 2-3 intermediate monitoring report. So John's got that queued up on the presentation station. I'll just quickly give a little bit of context again. It's essentially a repeat of the same slides that we see from primary in terms of these monitoring reports are about us monitoring student performance data toward achieving our mission and vision for our students. The work around monitoring student performance, growth, and achievement is connected directly to our goal to ensure academic success for every student. And we've got policy that speaks to end result monitoring, and that the superintendent and CEO shall assure that organizational efforts are focused on ensuring academic success for every student. You'll see, just like you saw in the primary report this evening, that we are now highlighting the organizational work that we're doing to accomplish our end results for students. I won't read all of this to you. It's just a recap of what is in the policy around end results reporting and what measures we look at. We look at multi-year data, et cetera. And this, I do want to pause for a moment and just remind the board that there's multiple sort of layers of data availability. We do the public end result monitoring reports. Those, again, a new thing this year is that we've got written reports similar to our executive limitations monitoring reports. Those are also publicly available and posted on that same board site. So if you click on the link that says monitoring reports, you'll see our primary report, and subsequent to this evening, you'll see the intermediate report. We also have a data dashboard that is available to board members as well as staff and principals, and they use that for SIP planning. There's the state report card site that's available to everyone. There's a new site on that's part of the state data set, which is the K-12 data and reports. And then I already mentioned that we do our written end result reports as well as the public presentation at the board meeting, like the one you're going to see tonight. We look at both progress and growth, and I just want to highlight that principals are doing this as well. In Jennifer's presentation on Rose Hill Elementary tonight, she made a point to show on one of the slides that they're looking at progress, which is how did this year's fourth graders, for example, do compared to last year's fourth graders. They're also looking at growth. How did last year's third graders do? Now that they're fourth graders, how are they doing? When they're fifth graders, how are they doing? And we look at that district-wide as well. You'll see in the presentation tonight and in the written report, we've got summary data. We've got different data displays in terms of how we look at demographic achievement of certain demographic groups. And as I mentioned before, we're looking at connecting our means. How are we, what work are we doing as an organization, and our ends? How are our students doing as a result of the work that we're doing? With that, I will go ahead and turn it over to John.
And just a point of clarification, and this is kind of the modification up until we go live, you'll see student growth percentile says not available. It wasn't available up until hours before. So I did embed some of the student growth percentiles into this presentation.
And John, just before you go on, I just want to speak to that as well. So this is the written reports. You'll recall the board gets 2 weeks in advance, similar to EL reports. For some of the data, we count on the state data, and when the state data is not available yet, we can't include it in the written report. As John mentioned, the data became available like on Friday, so he was able to make modifications to the report that you're going to see tonight. Then once the full data set's available on the state site, he will go back into the written report, put the data there, and we'll update that. However, we'll go ahead and post the written report in its current form without the student growth percentile data after tonight, so that's available to the public on the website, and then we'll go back and update it once the full data set becomes available.
Just out of curiosity, just before you start, John, because this just made me think of it, because we now have this on the boundary page where people can sign up for updates. Do we have that anywhere else? And is that something we're beginning to look at? If someone's interested in this kind of data versus the boundary, every time we post something and we update it, how will they know that it was updated from when they read it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something we can look at. What we have talked about is for certain specific, high-level strategic work, we would create a specific website so people can sort of track the progress and keep up to date.
Okay.
We probably don't want to put that on every page because it gets sort of unmanageable,
Right.
but maybe, we talked at the study session this evening about sort of identifying those kind of big top 5 pieces of work. For the College and Career Readiness Task Force, we envision would have its own dedicated web page, similar to the boundary process. So we can kind of talk through maybe which ones we think should or shouldn't, and maybe just that board study session site should have the link potentially.
Yeah.
Because then
And
it would all be there.
Just thinking of, how you can sign up for 16 bazillion things when you look at the city, depending on which area you're interested in, that the more opportunities that we give people to have that for getting the updates just increases the amount of communication and traffic on our website. So just curious.
Great. So tonight we will look at whole group achievement data, look at our own achievement versus state, and also our neighboring district peers. We'll look at some student growth percentile data, progress trends, and then we'll look at demographic and non-demographic comparisons. I wanted to start by after looking at all of this information, what reflections do we have? And there's a number of bullets here over, I believe, 3 slides, which relate to the whole presentation. And so as we go through, if we need to go back and highlight some of these, we can. But like many of our groups, our intermediate students continue to outperform our state peers. We continue to perform in a similar manner to our neighboring district peers. The intermediate students, we also have a similar 5-year trend in all content areas. That's true for Lake Washington and our neighboring peers. The pattern is very similar. While it's similar, we do actually have a flat trend for our intermediate achievement scores. That being said, the Lake Washington intermediate students consistently exceed standard at a higher percentage than neighboring school district peers, meaning more students in our intermediate grades are exceeding standard than our peers. And I have a chart to show that later on in the presentation. In the area of reading, our students in the demographic category of low income have demonstrated progress in the percent of those students exceeding standard. Lake Washington intermediate students demonstrate high growth in reading, and so when we're looking at our student growth percentiles, they have a student growth percentile in the 70th percentile, which is definitely high growth. Students receiving ELL services, they have student growth percentiles in reading 47 and math 35. And for us, that makes us wonder about the data. And when we receive further information from the state, we'll be able to compare with other ELLs across the state to kind of see where our performance or our growth pattern is. It was interesting when looking at the student growth percentiles, our students that are identified as gifted have extremely high growth in the area of reading. And when you're looking at growth percentiles, you can be high achieving, but still have low growth. So it's exciting that our gifted students are high achieving and demonstrating high growth in reading and showing high average growth in math. Our students in receiving special education services have a similar profile in growth to our ELL students in reading 48 and math 33. Similar to the primary presentation, this shows our target year of 2012, current year 2014, our baseline year of 2012, current year of 2014, and our target of 2018. And in both of these slides, the first being literacy with reading and writing, the second being math and science, you see that generally our trend is flat, which for us, we have set a target, and our intention is to put systems in place to meet those targets. When comparing Lake Washington to the state scores, we definitely outperform our state peers. And this is looking at all of the achievement categories in comparison to our peers, with the orange line there being in relation to the state average. So you can see here that we perform in a similar manner and in some areas outperform our neighboring districts. When looking at the data, it appears to be flat. And so I wanted to dig in a little bit more. And so this is data that isn't in the report at this point. And so a topic of conversation we've had is students exceeding standards. So I dug into the 5th grade data to find out how are our students performing at the exceeding standard level. And in reading, we have 70% of our 5th grade students exceeding standard. For me, that's a very remarkable number. 55% of 5th graders exceeding standard in math, 59% in science, and 42 of our current 4th graders exceeded standard in 4th grade writing.
And can I just clarify, that's a 4 basically what we're saying on the test, correct?
That is a level 4, yes. And so, what does that mean in comparison to our neighboring peers, I think is an interesting way to look at this, but also that orange line on this screen showing the state average for exceeding standard. And so you can see in all areas, with the exception of writing, we're outperforming our neighboring districts in exceeding standard. So for us, that's a positive trend that we want to continue. Getting into some of our growth data, specifically the student growth percentiles. Just want to take a moment to highlight what a student growth percentile is, since it's new to us as a district, and I know you've received maybe 4 minutes of training on student growth percentile. So we wanted to review that just to make sure you had a continued understanding. The state of Washington introduced student growth percentiles last year, March of 2013. And a simple way to think about it is that as a student growth percentile describes a student growth over the past year compared to other students with similar prior test scores. And so what's the purpose of a student growth percentile? It's again to describe a student's growth compared to other students with similar test scores. So students that, if you think about high achieving, low achieving, it's really taking students that are scoring in essentially a quadrant and making comparisons to those other students that are scoring in that similar manner, rather than comparing a student that's a level 2 to a level 4. You'd compare students that are a level 2 to level 2, and then the next year you'd take their scores and do a comparison to see, on average, how much did they grow. This helps us look at individual growth, but it also helps us take a look at the overall growth a school demonstrates. The middle term there, academic peers, that's the idea of the attributes for comparison must be the same grade, has to be in the same subject, and performance that was similar in the previous year. When you see actual student growth percentiles, it's important, just a simple way to think about it is typical growth is any number between 34 and 66, so the 34th percentile to the 66th percentile. High growth, 67th to 99th, and low would be anything from the 1st to the 33rd percentile. So I pulled a few of the key indicators of growth from the data set that we received. The green highlights are any areas that are in the high growth, and we have one area listed red there that's low growth. I also want to highlight for low income reading at 61, while it doesn't reach that threshold of high growth, that still is on the higher end of typical. So one of the things we also do is look at the progress over time that our grade levels are demonstrating. And so when and I think I've already mentioned this, that these are generally flat trends that you're going to see. Like in the primary presentation, I also want to highlight when we had curriculum adoptions in these areas. So in MSP reading, we just had our curriculum adoption within the last year. In math, we had our curriculum adoption in 2011. And what's interesting is we saw a similar bump in scores between the primary and the intermediate after our curriculum adoption. In science, you'll see it appears to be a significant growth trend for Lake Washington, but when we look at our neighboring districts, they experience the same exact growth pattern. And thank you, progress. And so I don't know if that is school districts and students getting used to the test, because this was a new test that came online, and so some of the language and whatnot was new. And but as you can see, another area where our progress did improve. Again, writing. This is 4th grade scores for 5th grade students, because we don't test writing in 5th grade. Again, it's a relatively flat trend. One of the things we want to do is just highlight some of the related instructional program efforts, some of them similar to what you saw in the primary presentation, and Matt will speak to those.
I'm going to be really brief because we did speak to them and they were very much the same. And so I want to just highlight that when John mentions the new curriculum and what is it about curriculum, I said this the last time, we get higher standards, they're more rigorous, we get a curriculum that's better aligned to those standards, that also provides the kind of differentiated instruction that you heard Jennifer speak about earlier in her presentation. In mentioning the Title I facilitators, that also is going to have a benefit, though it benefits early grades, it also benefits the upper grades as well.
I'm going to just make one additional comment here. You're probably going to speak to the building SIP, continuous improvement process expectations, or, you know, I mean, this is a repeat, like you said, of you know, similar to what we're doing in primary. I think tonight's presentation by Jennifer is a great illustration of the fact that we're doing things at the district level and working with schools as they're doing things at the building level through their continuous improvement process planning, through parent engagement, through all of the things that you heard happening at Rose Hill. Similar things specific to each school community are happening at all schools and all levels across the district as they're looking at the achievement and growth of their students in the particular school and making improvement efforts toward increasing achievement and learning for students. So it's a multi-layered district level work and building level work.
If I can just, when looking at the trends, especially, and I'm thinking of math, you see the new math curriculum comes in, you see the increase, but then it flattens. And so I see a lot of instructional program efforts, but similar with kindergarten, I think we have the KISSIN, that's a very specific thing that we're really targeting. Are we doing anything there? Because we have these flat trends. So our curriculum and our teaching, our PD can get us to a level, then it appears there's another step. And that's the question of where is that and how are we looking at that?
I think anytime you have high achievement, you get to a point where you get to a place where you can get, and then it takes very intentional, specific work around individual students. And so I think there's a variety of ways we're trying to get after that. The last bullet here, student growth goals at the teacher level, what that's doing is it's ensuring that teachers have a process for looking at individual student growth during the school year. And so it's not about setting an achievement goal for your students, it's actually about taking each individual student in your classroom and setting a goal for them in a specific content area and really thinking about how am I tracking and monitoring this throughout the school year, what assessment strategies am I going to use when I'm getting those assessment results, what am I actually doing with them in regards to these students that I've set a goal for. And so last year was the first year that that was a requirement. We're moving into it again this year. And the emphasis this year is really about, I think last year we did an okay job of rolling it out. We were kind of learning along with many of our teachers. This year the emphasis is on ensuring that any goal we write in regards to student growth goals starts at the individual student level. Because if you write a goal just general for your classroom, then it's not going to capture that individual student, where that student starts at the beginning of the year, and the goal I'm setting for him or her because of what I know about this assessment information now. And so that's one way we're getting after it. One strategy to do that, Jennifer talked about tonight, and that's the data teams process. There's other strategies to be able to do that. That's one we're really leaning towards right now because it's it's simple to understand, but the process itself does take professional learning for a whole team to be able to implement that. And so I think to answer your question, it's about really getting to the individual student rather than just thinking about how am I instructing whole groups.
Well, I mean, that's differentiated instruction, exactly what you're speaking to. So, but at the end run, we're still looking to see, we have this target in 2018. If we're truly going to reach that target, we do have to see growth start to happen at the population base as well as at the individual base. So that's, it'd be interesting to start looking at those concepts. You have these data teams in many schools at this point in time. As we start to look at that, are we seeing those changes that we're expecting? It appears on the exceeding standard, we're getting there, meaning that the student growth stuff is showing that's working. I'm not convinced we're getting there on the other side based on the special education piece that came out and some of the math pieces that come out. So that's why I'm just asking that question.
I know Mark wants to say something, but I'd just add two other comments before I pass it to Mark. When we look at data by school, you know, we've got some schools who have, based on their student population, farther to go than others. So there's a piece of what happens in the building SIP process that's specific to the school and the student population as well, and different interventions and systems that get put in place to address the population of a school in addition to the individual within, you know, the individual students within that school. The other thing is, as we look at big groups like special education, and we look at program evaluations. So we talked about strategic planning process in the study session earlier, and doing an evaluation or program review of special services is on our list of what we're evaluating this year. So we also, as this data emerges and we look at the data, it causes us to ask that question, okay, what can we do differently, better from the district system level, and how can we continue to support schools looking at their specific student population and making improvement efforts at the building level. And then, of course, how are we looking at individual students through the student growth goal process? So it's that multi-layered approach.
John, can we go back about a slide or two to the right? There we go. That's just the right one. You said that it's not the writing scores are not measured after what grades? I'm sorry.
So this is fourth grade scores for the fifth graders that we were monitoring.
Right.
So these are 2012, 2013 results.
So you want to have another till they're sixth grade or what?
Seventh grade is the next writing assessment.
But can I interject? I just think it's really important. We're just looking at state assessment data. That doesn't mean we're not teaching and assessing writing at every single grade level.
No,
which we absolutely are. It's just that state assessments only come in at 4th, 7th, and 10th for writing.
I understand. It just struck me that tonight, as we were listening to the students from the Merit Scholars, saying how, especially one or two of them said how they really thought they detested writing until they got to the classroom with a certain teacher. And I saw it as my son's gone through school that writing seems to take a really back step or back seat to the rest of the curriculum. And and because it has such overarching, touching to every topic and every subject. It seems like it's really something that we really need to figure out a way to, whether the student is a math student, whether he or she is really tuned into science or tuned into whatever, that we be able to instill a greater emphasis on writing, whether it's for the math skills that he or she is showing, or the science skills, or the social studies, whatever. And my concern is that we need to really monitor it a little closer than perhaps what the state is saying.
So one of the things about the Common Core state standards is one of the foundations of the Common Core standards is the emphasis on writing across the curriculum and reading across the curriculum. And when students are receiving reading instruction, there's actual strategies about, finding information in text and writing about it. And so even in reading instruction, students are really now, and along with the curriculums that we're adopting, really are writing alongside of their reading. And so
what I've seen lacking in the writing instruction I've seen from my son going through school is the organizational skills part of it. And that's where it really usually falls down, is the idea that, once you get them started, it's like a rock rolling down the hill and it gets the speed going. It's that first push and the ability to organize their thoughts. And I think that's where we might be having the disconnect. Just a thought.
Thank you. Okay, looking at some of our demographic comparisons. Just want to remind us, these are the same slides that we showed for the primary. This just shows the red line being the low income trend over the last 10 years. You can see down at the bottom there's limited English, special education, and 504. Looking at the numbers.
John, before you go on, 504 has such a mixed bag of students. Is it, I don't know, I'm just wondering how valuable an area, because it's not all the same. I mean, the kids don't all have the same issues of what their needs are for I know it's true for
I'd like to keep the 504 partially. What you find is that there really isn't much of a difference when they actually go through and do the breakout later down, which I think is a good sign.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to be monitoring.
Yeah.
I don't think there's...
I just find it such a mixed bag of kids in a different way, I think, than just special ed, but okay.
But I think the ELL has that same issue, and
I think a key piece to the 504 is maybe not thinking about it as, like a small group, but this is a broad group of students that are coming to our teams, having an evaluation and being identified for needing accommodations, regardless of what their disability is. And so this is kind of Lake Washington's addressing those issues regardless of what they are, and are we meeting those accommodations, which really are access to the curriculum in the classroom and the school.
Just to follow up, I just think it's one of those areas then that we need to do a better job of defining what that is as we speak about it. I think everybody in the community understands when you say special education, but I think when we do 504, it's like, what are you talking about? So just a communication piece.
I wonder if we could just add definition of 504 on there somewhere so that it's clear it's the American Disabilities Act that's driving it. That might be helpful.
You'll see that in November.
Well, I think there's also a lot of disparity between when you talk to, especially a lot of the colleges, the advisors saying you should be switching from an IEP to a 504. You should be switching from a 504 to an IEP, and it's a whole mixed bag. A lot of the advisors we're hearing from colleges are saying, switch your kid now from an IEP to a 504. And I'm not sure, you hear one say one way, one the other way. But it seems like the 504 seems to have more of an impact on their services they receive once they hit the college level.
So just to break out these demographic in relation to something, I wanted to start with all students and what was the increase over the last 10 years. We've had about a 7.5% increase in student population, and just kind of going down the list, about 11% increase in low income, and you can see the number of students that represents to the right. You're welcome, Nancy. I take direction well. Limited English, you can see a significant increase in the percent of students we're serving. Special education, the qualification of students to receive specially designed instruction, up almost 25% over the last 10 years. In 504, while the N is low, 43% is still a significant increase. So when looking at our low income compared to our students that are not identified as low income, you can see that there's a pretty standard gap over the last 5 years in regards to performance. One of the things I did was wanting to dig into the data just a little bit to see is there any progress that we can point out. And I just pulled out reading as a indicator, looking at students exceeding standard over the last 7 or 8 years, starting at 23% and a slow growth, slow progress over time, but identified in 2014 at 38% of low-income students exceeding standard. At the bottom, you'll see numbers of 53, 55, 63, and under 2014, you'll see 79. That seems like a really low number compared to the previous 2 years, and that's because of what Tracy talked about at the study session, where we had 5 schools that didn't participate in MSP because they were part of the Smarter Balanced pilot. And so their scores aren't included in our assessment results. And so even though for AYP factors and things like that, their 2012, 2013 scores are pulled forward, those scores aren't factored into the 13-14 results. When looking at our ELL students compared to our non-ELL students, again, you can see, about a 40 to 45% gap. When looking at our neighboring districts to see how do we compare, you can see that we compare favorably, but still lower than we would want to see for our ELL students. Again, the orange bar is the state average for ELL students in those areas. Again, Matt will come and talk about related instructional program.
I want to talk about something that Jennifer Hodges did that's not exactly on that slide. I'm going to actually call her tomorrow and ask her if I could repackage those slides and use them for other purposes. There were 3 things she showed that are really, I think, pivotal to her growth. One is the success of the Kissen program with the entire green pie chart that showed all students at standard. The fact that they're using data, John referenced data teams, is the first step, and it's part of the cycle that she showed on another slide. So that's the data inquiry cycle that they use in data teams. You start with the data, you ask why not, you set instructional goals, you measure kids and see where they are, and if it's still not working, you try something else. That continuous cycle, the next thing she showed was built into the schedule, and I've not seen it this way yet called out, where she has time built in for, she called it just right instruction. It's not just the struggling kids, it's the kids who already got it. They're building that structurally. I want to actually go out and see what she's doing, because that goes back to our last study session, which is on how are we challenging the kids. Not exactly what's up there on the slide, but I was thinking of strategies while I had a moment to think in terms of Siri's question is, what are you doing about it when you see flat things? That, as it gets stronger in the system, I wouldn't say it's systemic right now. I know you said many of the schools are using data teams, but I wouldn't say it's systemic yet to where we're going to see the impact of what that's going to mean for teams across the whole system. Then you see the cycle really taking effect.
To just add, though, the one other thing I would take from her slides is when she showed the attendance and how they were tracking with the raccoon, and they had the IXL, so she was using math in a daily experience for her kids themselves to be analyzing data in a very different way, and so it became part of their culture. So that was another neat community component she added into that I think can add a lot of strength.
And if I built on that, I'd add one more piece, okay, which is the deprivatization of what they're doing by posting on data walls how their students are doing. That's the risk-taking that takes place when you say, how many kids in my class are here? What's it going to take to get them here? And you're public about it. So then it becomes part of the culture of the school. We talk about our kids, not I keep them secret to myself. I've used up my time.
Well, and Matt, she also is in a school that has a lot of these areas where the gap is and the things that they're doing. I too was highly impressed with her presentation. When I saw that red section of time, 45 minutes daily for kids to be working at where they are, to me was really impressive for schools in helping get kids to move along.
I think also her reach out to her Hispanic community and figuring out actual ways of engaging them in their child's education is extremely important. May not show up on a data wall, but we know that that's a very important piece to the success of students. Looking at special education students, again, we see a similar gap to our ELL students between our non-ELL or our non-special education and our students identified for special education services. When looking at our comparable districts, it gives us a point of reference. Again, we perform similar, but definitely have some areas to grow. And then looking at section 504.
Good place for a definition.
Right there, it looks like there's some blank space there that's going to be filled.
Can we go back to
I feel like I'm going into a building, you know, and you're setting me off into a corner that's labeled section 504.
I wonder if the SPED comparisons would be more realistic if we had students who are more integrated into the typical classrooms on 3 out of 5 class hours, 6 out of 5, or 5 out of 6 rather, whatever, rather than just doing the whole population. Because I think that we are missing an element of the students that are considered special ed, and they need to be in there, but they're also more assimilated into the classrooms and are actually taking more rigorous classes. I know that some students can't be tested, the nonverbals. My son, it's almost impossible to test him. But yet there are other students that he's been in school with since elementary school that are basically integrated fully, almost fully, into the regular classrooms. And it seems like you would have a different information set to work with, and it might be more useful.
So a couple comments. 2, I agree. Anytime we seek data that's that unique to students within a subcategory, it means more data mining on our part. And so it's figuring out how do we pull in, it's what's called the LRE report, least restrictive environment, that identifies how much time a student is receiving special education and, you know, our requirement to educate them in the general education classroom. That's one way to understand their access to general ed classrooms or general ed instruction. And so I can't promise it for November, but we'll look at, but we're required to do those reports anyway, so then it's overlaying that report on these results so that we can actually do some disaggregation. So that's one, and I think you have a question.
No, I'm saying it wasn't a criticism, it's just the idea that might be more insightful for y'all as you look at to see what, especially as we're looking at a reevaluation of the SPED programs anyway, in order to really understand what you need to do, you need to know exactly where all the students are at.
Right.
I mean, at one point, inclusion meant that my son was actually just inside the same walls of the school as opposed to in classes. And that wasn't too long ago.
Okay, I'll make one comment, and then I believe Chris has a comment. These achievement scores here do represent all students, because there's students that take developmentally appropriate assessments. We have students that take the portfolio assessments as their state assessments, and so for those students, they're passing or not passing at levels 1 through 4 as well, and so they're represented here as well. This isn't just MSP performance.
So I just wanted to say a couple things. First is, I'm loving the numbers. I'm loving the presentations. I really like the above standard, and I'll explain why in a moment. But on this particular slide is a number that got me thinking, that led me to another number, that led me to another number. 51% at standard in reading. We've got 89% at standard among all students. So 11% of kids are not at standard. SPED is 12% of our district. Half of them are not at standard on reading. Literally half of our kids who are not at standard on reading are SPED. Now, let's add in how many kids who are not at standard in reading are ELL. It's about 4%. We've explained 10 out of 11%. Oh, no, it gets better. And there's free and reduced. I don't have stratified by all of the above, but free and reduced is another 4.5%, which brings us to 15.5% of the 11% of kids who are not at standard are either free and reduced or ELL or SPED. If we want to improve our district-wide scores, there's no blood left to be squeezed in the general classroom. I will wager that there are less than 25 kids who aren't SPED, ELL, or free and reduced who are not at standard on reading. This blows my mind. I mean, it's basically, here's where we have to pay attention, or where we have the opportunity to grow. Now which brings me full circle. What I love about your students above standard, that's the only place that we can actually measure progress for the regular classroom. Because it's not the 11% who are special program. Everyone else, we can actually track their progress because they're all flatlining for their at standard on the statewide tests. But above standard, there we can see some progress. So I love the way you're presenting this stuff, and I'm kind of excited about this as a possible dimension that we can take to this analysis. So anyway, thanks.
I think another comment on that is, I guess I would add on to that it is also about the general education classroom, because just pulling students out and giving them instruction in an isolated manner doesn't give them really the opportunity to hear others think, to think broadly about broad topics. And so it's that combination of, specially designed instruction that's targeting their needs, but also giving them the opportunity. And that's really what the SIOP strategies are about, is about providing opportunity for all students to access what's happening in the classroom. It's, coined as an ELL strategy, but it's really, those are strategies that are great for all kids. So,
can you remind me what SIOP stands for?
Sheltered Instructional Observation Protocol.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, because I was going to ask that.
There'll be a test in November.
Don't have my little quiz sheet print.
So when looking at our students that require accommodations to access their curriculum served under Section 504, you can see that really they're comparable to our students that aren't receiving services under Section 504. And I think, what does that tell us? That we're providing appropriate accommodations for those students that we have identified to ensure that they're able to participate in class.
Who came up with section? Is that just where it is in the feds?
It's the feds. It's under, it's Section 504.
I'm feeling like I'm in an institution where you've got me locked up somewhere. I'm either in or I'm out,
Area
Don't
51.
like those terms. I'm really
I can't help with that. We'll move on to comparable districts. Again, you can see perform similar to our comparable districts. For the related instructional program efforts, I'll just speak briefly about our adoption cycle. Anytime we're adopting curriculum for the general classroom, we're also looking at curriculum to support students that are not achieving standard and students that are exceeding standard, and how we can accomplish those goals. Tracy talked a little bit about the program review that's starting in special services this year, and I believe we'll be bringing an update to a study session December 8th. Our highly capable students. I'll just want to go back to the data piece at the very beginning. It's very exciting that our highly capable students are also growing. High-achieving kids that sit in class and are bored and continue to be high-achieving isn't what we're trying to accomplish. Continued growth is also very important. So you can see here that our students that are in the Quest program continue to perform at a high level. And like with our other scores, writing is a challenge.
Is this including both pull-out and full-time?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good question. Madam, I have you speak to these.
Recap the last session that we had, the work that's continuing within Quest to refine the curriculum and to focus on thematic instruction, critical thinking, taking some of the best things from Pullout and incorporating them in full-time classrooms as well. We added a Blackwell class just this fall, and our classes are now configured as 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course the program review is underway, and so that's work that you heard about last time.
That concludes our intermediate ER monitoring report. Next report is on middle school in November.
Well, first, thank you. I would second what Chris said. I think these are helping to get a lot better with the data and actually being able to use it from where we are, huh?
It's data that gets at the important questions. It's not just data, and I love that.
It's beginning to get there to where we need to be, so I think that's great. There's just, I know we talked about cutting out race and not using that as a focus. Race and ethnicity is one of our categories, so I know that's why it's not there. However, I would like to propose that we actually do put it back in as a monitoring concept, because I do think it is important, especially with conversations that exist and different things in our communities. I think it's important that we are paying attention possibly to some of those disparities. I know that I easily was the one who argued against it. I'm just saying I do think we might want to consider it to be in as a monitoring component of something we do look at.
I think the problem is the end numbers for some of the categories we're most concerned with are so small.
Absolutely, although I think we do have a Latino population that we can have, and I mean, you do have the different racial categories to be looking at. As a monitoring concept, we might not use it, but it might give something along, it might spark something.
So I'd like to propose not a counter, but just, I agree with you. We don't want to make it look like we've looked past it entirely, but including a slide that says this category was tested and statistically there was no significant difference between any of the subcategories. That accounts for very small sample sizes. There's too much random noise for 12 students. And basically, if we can say, look, I mean, I know that male versus female, I've done this again and again, there's no difference between male and female in our district, nothing statistically significant. You can just say, if we tested it, check, it's not there.
Yeah, and it's more of just a monitoring, just to be paying attention from a bigger picture.
So one
really.
thing I will just need to consider is that we do look at that data. It's what all gets included in both the written report and the presentation to keep them at a reasonable,
and that's why I'm sort of suggesting a slide that says, here are the 5 things that we did look at, and none of them had any significant statistical trends to them. So we looked at them, they don't matter.
Or even that they possibly did, it's likely we would find achievement gaps still if we look at race and ethnicity. I have no doubt that that would likely be true. So we can say, yes, it is. At this point, we're,
Historically, when I've looked at them, yeah.
So,
I think
what
it's
I'm going to propose, since we have the written reports, already defined, and we spent that time doing that. I think we should continue the written reports through the full cycle as they stand, and we can include in the presentation, a slide or two to address what you're asking. Then in March, when we have the extended study session, and we can, put on the agenda sort of re-looking at end result reports, which we've sort of done every year. If there's any modification to the reports themselves and to policy that needs to occur as a result of now we've done a full cycle of the new end result monitoring structure, then I would suggest we do it that way versus changing the reporting specifications in the written report at this point in time.
Yep, that's fine with that. The other thing is knowing how time-consuming data mining is and those components, and having listened to our National Merit Scholars tonight, talking about how projects were so fascinating, and that was where they really got to learn a lot. It makes me think we do have students who are doing AP statistics, and possibly in the game. These actually, to me, you have a perfect, if you can identify your data enough, which there's no reason we shouldn't be able to, and let them dig and data mine into this data, you have a lot of possibilities to give these seniors a lot of opportunity to establish a question. Here's your scientific inquiry going on. So it's a possibility for that project-based learning. So I would encourage us to think about that. As we ask businesses to do internships, here's an opportunity we have to possibly use the talents of our students and our teachers who have statistical background, and probably find a community member who would be intrigued by doing something like that, knowing the statistics that are out there. I just know it takes a lot of time for the data mining, and when you start going down to those things, and sometimes we can leverage our community, I think, and our students to do so. And what a great thing to put on your college app, isn't it?
There's child labor laws, young lady, don't you?
Yeah, these are, actually, you'd have kids dying to do something like that and be able to discover something and then be able to present it and be able to say, here's what I found, you know, what can we do? It's a great opportunity, so just
John,
another thought.
Thank you for the hard work. Another wow. This has been a very good wow night. So.
And Matt.
Yes, and Matt. And I'm sure you have other people helping you, so thank you. The presentations really are good, and I think very meaningful to all of us. It's taken us some time from when we had end results of 3 or 4 years ago that we didn't really have, and we've come a long way. So thanks to keeping at it and listening to all of us and trying to meet all of our needs. Much appreciated.
You are welcome.
Okay, now we go to your report, the rest of it.
Right, so the only piece that I think I want to highlight that I didn't really have an opportunity to highlight earlier, what I wanted to do, superintendent's report tonight, what I wanted to focus on was enrollment update and then boundary process. And I think I was able to earlier point people to where the boundary process information is. So based on our time, I will just highlight enrollment data. So in September, during superintendent's report, I brought to you the September numbers, and I just wanted to give you an update this evening. So district enrollment in terms of head count as of October 1st, which is the official count day, was 26,708. And so schools actually have until the end of this week to verify those numbers and adjust for data cleanup. This number represents 660 more students than our October count last year, and 41 more students more than budget. So this is head count that's reported, and I'll follow up and give you by learning community, like I did last time in September, sort of what the look is by learning community and school. The funding is based on average monthly FTE from September to June. So we do monthly enrollment reports, and that's how we get our funding. So we anticipate our average annual FTE will be level with our projections if the trend holds. So, you know, as we're moving into this process and having this process of boundary, you know, we've been reporting numbers like 716 more than previous year. Those numbers always fluctuate a little bit month to month, and so right now we're at 660, which is a little less than we reported in September with 715, but you know, we're still right. We still have a lot of students, let me just put it that way, and we're still growing in our enrollment. And so every month there's going to be little adjustments, absolutely.
And that's 661 students with how many new buildings?
That's a rhetorical question.
It is a rhetorical question, but I'm pretty sure the answer is the number of new classrooms is 0, right?
We added 10 portable
We did add 10
classrooms
portables.
over the summer.
Mhm.
And as we all know, we'll be adding 69 additional classrooms to address this issue in the short term, 28 portables, green portables, plus the interior building modifications and addition at Redmond Elementary that we or mentioned earlier in the context of the hearing.
This is the equivalent of 2 elementary schools. Where we're running through, well, we had 365 today.
That was 400.
You know?
several that are at 600 and 650, and we bill to 500, 550, so.
Yeah. We've got, I mean, in terms of elementary use, I just have the sheet in front of me. I mean, we range from the 300s, to 400s to 641, 649 Rosa Parks, and 661 Rockwell right now. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong year. 673 Rockwell, so that's the October 2014. Rosa Parks is at 609.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, we do not have, and not at the elementary level.
And hard to believe that Juanita L. at one time was at 700.
Yes.
Just how it goes.
That was in the old building.
Yeah, it's in the old building. Yeah, it's been, well, it almost closed, remember?
Yeah.
In 2005, we almost had it closed. Just the difference of what it's been since 10 years. Glad we didn't. We'd have been even worse in shape than we are. Ledge update and our ledge platform. So, Siri, and where are we headed?
You were sent the legislative platform that we had from last year for 2014. I also sent to you what the legislative priorities were that were approved at the WASDA conference in September, the 10 priorities they listed, and then there's about another, I think, 5 that might have been considerations that you might want to look at as to whether or not we would want to have that as a priority, even though WASDA did not choose it as a priority on their list. A lot of what's on that legislative priority initially is very similar to the WASDA ones, the basic funding. The thing that is not on there is construction funding.
Thank you.
And that is a piece that I do believe might be missing that we might want to be addressing more specifically. And revenue would be the other one to consider as to how to, there was a revenue statement passed at WASDA along the lines of, for the state to consider additional sources of revenue in which to deal with the need for ample and sufficient funding for basic education, that we can't do it within the system we have. You need to look beyond. So that's a question as to whether or not we want to go there or not.
As I was thinking about it, chatted a little bit with Tracy earlier, is that a lot of these comments, and I'm sure I haven't had a chance to look at the WASDA ones, are things that we year in, year out say, not that they're not important, not that they need to be there. I'm wondering if this year we include those, but that we have the construction, to me right now, is primary, and how are we going to fund construction in this state for schools? People are not passing bonds statewide. We have a 60% threshold, which is going to take a public vote to change to 50%. I don't see that happening in this climate, if it ever got out of the legislature. That and the square footage that OSPI has been fighting with them to change. To me, if we could, especially in meeting with our legislators, those would be the 2 areas I think we should focus on. Not that McCleary and all the others, but all of the other stuff is adding classrooms. It's adding kindergarten, it's adding classrooms, and we have no place to put our kids now. And the state is going to have, the legislature is going to have to help the school districts in this state find a way to fund buildings, because bonds are not getting it right now.
They did a survey of schools, OSPI school facilities did do a survey of schools about all-day kindergarten. The legislature is aware of the issue.
Oh, they are.
And since I just got their draft capital budget proposal, when my computer gets done, I will forward it to you, since you all are so interested this year. And the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee for School Facilities, Forrest is on it, I'm on it, but I'm there for DOH, not LW. And Forrest is very influential, so.
I just think it's an area we need to spend our time when we have them in the room to say that this is a high priority, along with the revenue. And I agree, new revenue sources, somewhere there's got to be revenue. I don't know what they're going to do to find it.
And the question is how to lay out this legislative priorities in there is sort of where is our focus as a district. We have what WASDA has, what the superintendents are doing, and those will be going. But when we hold the conversation with our legislators, what do we want to highlight within our district? And so construction and need for classroom, I think, is one component. And the more clear we can be With the addition of all-day K, we need this many more classrooms. With the addition of this, with the reduction in science lab, with the number of students who can be in the science lab, we will need X. And just being very clear with our priorities, so when we talk to them, we can bring it local as to what that means. Because that's the piece we, as the 6th largest district in the state, we have a loud voice if we choose to exercise it well amidst our legislators.
Well, and I also think we need to point out the square footage issue, which has been there for forever, that they are unwilling to change for some reason. I don't know how it affects them, but I guess it must do something with funding.
Because if they change it, they'd have to allocate, they don't have more money. It's an allocation formula. It has nothing to do with reality. It has to do with the fact that they only get so much money, and so there's never been this, everybody knows it's completely unrealistic. It's kind of like the big lie out there because...
But we're having our community throw it in our face
I
that we're going
understand.
against it, which is why they say we're building Taj Mahals, is because they're using what the 95 square foot allocation versus what is a real number. And I think we need to share that's a negative impact again on bond passage.
It is. And we've been having this discussion
I
with the
know.
tax ever since I've been on there, which was 2003.
Well, in the years I've been on the board, and you, we've not really focused on construction issues.
No, because we passed bonds.
And I realize the state says they fully fund construction, but that means that they use all
No,
those.
they don't.
Well, they do say that. That's the terminology they use. But what it is, it's their pot that they have is used up to be fully expended out to schools. But it's not fully funding construction in any way, shape, or form. But anyway, I just think that for me, I think that's the priority that we have, and it doesn't take away from all the other, because all the other is impacting our construction and ability to house kids.
You know,
I mean, I do think, go ahead.
Well, and one of the things that changed a few years ago was when they reorganized the Board of Education, they took facilities away from the Board of Ed, and they put it all at OSPI. So we no longer even had a political body working on school construction issues. And I'm sure there's pluses and minuses, there is with everything, but, you know, it's now at OSPI. OSPI doesn't have the freedom as a state agency, even if they're not a governor's agency, they're still a state agency, to be out there really advocating in the way the old Board of Ed did on facility issues.
So to help you, one, who's going to write the document? Two, what do you want from us to give input to it? You've got my input. Those two issues to me are prime on the list to go along with the revenue. And the other pieces, I still agree, you know, we need to have it as part of the platform. But I think this is what we have to sit down and face-to-face chat with our legislators about this year.
I think I can draft something up. I could work with Tracy to draft something up, working with us. I think what we have there for the majority of it, we can utilize. For flexibility and local funding is the second one. Does the 60% majority or the shifting of that, I think that conversation of having it's allowing your local communities to be able to respond to needs. So I think that's an important component. And then we can build in the construction piece. There are about 3 or 4 off of WASA that we can look at which to build those together, I think, that address those in different ways. But I'll get to the idea of square foot allocation and that. What we do need, though, is specifics to Lake Washington School District.
I agree.
And what that means specifically from a data component, how it impacts budget and different things, so that we can hold those conversations very meaningfully with the legislators, not from a general perspective.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
from-
I think we need to be very specific about who we are and how it's impacting us here. The other piece, too, to begin thinking about with the elections next month, we do need to, if we're going to meet with legislators, we really need to do it before they even, were someone brand new to be elected, then they go in earlier than the rest of them, because there's always the training with caucuses and whatever. So January often is a bust because they bail on us.
So it would be sometime in November that we probably try to stay as far away from the holiday season as we can and we just need to talk about how we want to meet with them this time. So I think that's if you have good ideas, why don't you send them to Siri so she can, think of what works the best. We've done all kinds of things, from all of them in one room to individuals or 2 or 3 at a coffee or breakfast, and sometimes they work better than others, and it just depends on year to year. I find the more of them that are in the room, the easier it is for them to bail.
Although last year, we had pretty good attendance
They
at
did
the one
come.
that was here.
That was the best ever, but we've had them bail in the past. So it may be timing too. If you get too close to January, it's, in that once the session gets close, they start heading to Olympia a lot. So anyway.
On the platform, so I just want to make sure I'm hearing correctly, the priorities that are currently there, people aren't wanting to change, but really add a whole category. Like the categories are full funding for basic education, flexibility, and local control, and adding a category of school construction and state construction funding assistance. And then I think probably to your point, for each of these bullet items under the big headings, we could include some district-specific information that would help in the conversation, even if we have to kind of go to a second page, with more school district-specific data to help with the conversation. So if, as a next step, if, you wanted to send me the WASDA language, I'm happy to just at least start a draft here, adding some district-specific data in these areas, and we can go back and forth. And then we would do you want to bring this back at the next meeting to sort of formally adopt the platform?
Yeah, and it's possible that on our one page that we could just have the statement about construction, but we could provide a page that is just data. So it's a good, because we can then highlight our own and things that we want to.
And that's what I would suggest, is a separate sheet that's handed specific to
And
it.
then somebody, each of us can be very specific of the areas that mean to us if we're in a group conversation, so we hit them all.
Any asks that we have of the legislator ought to have, for each ask, ought to have the supporting information underneath. So you're not just talking about having one set of data for the entire thing. You're talking about having a set of data for each of the points that you're wanting to make. And the more specific it is to the district, the better. Because if we can take those numbers and put faces to them, even better.
Yep, you're right. When you talk about the impact of kids. Great. Okay, thank you. And anything about board follow-up amongst board members? I have a note, and I know Tracy does, about future agenda. It's not really a agenda item as much as it's a follow-up item for next time as the report's back, so we have a public report back on the issues around the busing and the bike policy for us ahead of time, but at the next meeting. Any other debriefing comments from the board? Any other board member comments?
Yes, actually, we all just received recently an email from a parent concerning the congressional hearing on dyslexia that took place in September. And I would strongly encourage everybody to look at it. It was very well done. It's becoming an issue at the federal level. With 1 in 5 are the statistics they are quoting being impacted by dyslexia. And the reality is the research is there, it's clear, and we have ability to act, and now is the time to. So I would recommend looking at it and paying attention to it and seeing what it is. The stories I heard on there were stories I've heard in our district. So they are not different. We are not different. We are in the same position that we are not necessarily addressing it as effectively as we could. So I would just recommend you to look at it. And I know I've talked with Dr. Pierce a little bit about it. and this will be part of the program review that's coming through and looking at it. But I do encourage you all to look at it.
Thank you. Nancy?
Well, I think you kind of, some of you already know, I just got back from the international meeting of the Council of Education Facility Planners International. They were in Portland. So for the first time since the recession, my office agreed to send me to a conference. It was really nice. And I always have this interesting little dual hat because I have two different interests there, my day job and my night job. But there were some interesting presentations. I've already sent them to Tracy and some of the other staff. And I think the bottom line is, you know, there's so much more we can always be doing. And building great schools that accommodate that is really important. So they're obviously they were showcasing really great examples from around the world, but a flexible facility that allows our teachers to team teach, which we've been doing with our modernization project, the last two modernization projects, but also room for kids to move. I mean, the evidence is really clear. Kids need to move. They need furniture that's flexible. They need space. They need to get up every hour, as do adults. Get the blood flowing so that the brains work better. Lots of inspiring stories, and I took a lot of pictures. I toured the Henrietta Locke Biomedical, or something like that, high school. It's a new high school down in, I'm so bad at this. I think that one's the Evergreen School District. And it was really, really impressive. It's just really cool, some of the things we're doing. So I'll share more information as it comes, and I got to take a look at a model of the Sage Portable, which is one of the green portables we are considering.
And to build on that, we have the opportunity to do a tour. I'm working at setting up the date.
In Edmonds?
In Edmonds. So if anybody's interested, please email me, and I'll make sure you're on that.
Let everybody know the date, and then...
I don't have it yet.
When you do.
Okay.
And then they can get back to you to say if they can.
I think the other interesting thing about the Sage is talking to the guy, it reminded me that this really was developed as a university project in Oregon. And he says they're very open to coming up, talking to people, but also new ideas, because I was sitting there looking at it with a mechanical engineer that I work with, and we were discussing the HVAC system. And of course, he and I are really very much like displacement ventilation. And we think you could possibly consider putting displacement ventilation into this portable. So anyway, it was interesting. You always come away exhausted and wishing you could do all these really cool things. Although I'm not really ready for a big slide in the middle of our schools.
Thank you. Me either.
A spiral slide.
And it won't fit the 95 square foot allotment. I'm sorry. Out of luck.
Yeah, well, it is especially a school that tries to cheer on people sliding as far as they can and hitting a pole. My risk manager side went, okay, I want the kids to really, really move, but that might be a bit too much.
Any other comments? Or are we
You
ready to
ready?
adjourn?
I have to get up to take my child to the bus for STEM in less than 8 hours. So I would very much like to adjourn.
Would you like to make
I'll
a
move
motion?
adjournment.
Thank you.
And a second?
You
All
could
in
just
favor, please
move
say
it.
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.